Hello everybody. Today we will be discussing the security concerns in the healthcare sector and HIPAA and how we secure healthcare databases. To discuss further, we have here industry security expert Dr. Anton Chavakin. He is the author of the book Security Warrior and a contributor to the Information Security Management Handbook and many others. Anton has also published dozens of papers on security data analysis and security management. Dr. Chavakin, welcome. Tell us, how safe are we in regards to data security?
Well, we are not really that safe. Many organizations have finally taken care of their network security, but data security remains a big problem. Specifically, many companies have lost data due to unreliable employees, due to external hackers, due to many other issues. So I cannot say that our data is safe today because there are so many risks and so many recent incidents caused massive data loss for many different corporations.
Why is it important to protect the healthcare database?
Well, healthcare data is one of the most sensitive for many people. Think about it. If you lose a credit card, you can go and change it. But if you lose your healthcare record, there's no way for you to change it. It's really what you have. So in that sense, healthcare data can cause not just public embarrassment, but can cause many other issues. That's why there are so many data protections, including regulations such as HIPAA, to protect healthcare data from being lost or stolen. In that sense, protecting healthcare data is one of the biggest responsibilities for companies that have to deal with the data, hospitals, insurance companies, and many others.
You have mentioned that data is leaked due to internal breaches. What are some of the kind of breaches that have taken place?
Unfortunately, there are many recent stories with massive healthcare data loss. There was a situation where many medical records were lost from a hospital. There were other situations where healthcare records from HIV-positive patients were lost. And that's a big issue for people who might have wanted them to keep them confidential. In that sense, both hospitals and insurance companies and other data providers have lost data. And obviously that affected lives of many people. Those people are not able to recover in some cases and have to suffer the consequences for many years. As a result, that's why I call such data the most sensitive that a person might have.
Let me interrupt you, Doctor. So how do we protect our confidential data?
One of the ways to protect the data is by using data leak prevention technology. Now, these technologies are deployed as a part of overall security framework, network firewalls, many other safeguards, but as a technology that directly protects data, DLP is one of the strongest safeguards for healthcare data protection. And by the way, it's also important to note that healthcare data in many cases is unstructured, and many technologies companies have in their security arsenal aren't working that well. So to really protect healthcare records, individual files, and many other types of sensitive data, you have to have an advanced DLP tool in your arsenal.
So Dr. Chavakin, which is the best DLP product you have come across or you know?
Well, the question cannot be answered with one simple tool because in many situations, many environments, various tools might be the best. One of the tools that I like in many cases is nexTier DLP technology. The reason I like it is that because it has their semantic technology can actually fingerprint and analyze the data much better than the traditional fingerprinting technologies that are used by legacy vendors. The main advantage here is that you don't have to know very precisely what data you have to protect. You can have the tool help you define what data is sensitive, and then have the tool safeguard the data from attacks, internal breaches, external hackers, and many other factors that can cause data leakage or data loss.
So how will nexTier's DLP product prevent the internal breaches from occurring?
Well, nexTier DLP technology can be deployed in various places on the network. Because when we are talking about DLP, we have to account for both internal breaches and external breaches, and also accidental loss as well as malicious loss. So there are many scenarios, and these calls for many ways to deploy the technology. Typically, a company would deploy a set of appliances on the network to stop external data breaches. But also, companies have to deploy DLP technology close to where the sensitive data is stored. So if you have a database which contains healthcare data, we have a file server, we have some other type of storage of high volume of confidential healthcare data, it will be advisable to deploy a DLP tool, such as the one from nexTier, close to the data stores. So the data will be protected while still allowing the legitimate use of the data. So that's an important way to use DLP to protect healthcare data.
You mentioned stopping breaches in data protection. So what else do you like about nexTier's product?
I like many things about the nexTier technology. One is that you can use the tool from the very first stage of discovering where the data is, figuring out what data is important, also creating a semantic DNA, fingerprint, or advanced version of a fingerprint across all the data. In many cases, what we all have is protection for both structured and unstructured data. Here's the simplest example. Social security number is a structured data because it's always the same. Now, quarterly reports or sensitive emails are examples of unstructured data. It's basically just human-readable text that might have relevance for the company. So in that sense, almost any DLP deployment today must be able to protect against both structured data, credit card numbers, social security numbers, as well as unstructured data. And since we're talking about HIPAA, a lot of healthcare data is unstructured because we are talking about medical files, health histories, other personal things. So in that sense, I would always pick DLP technology that can do unstructured data really well if we are talking about healthcare data protection.
What is the difference between structured data and unstructured data?
Okay, let me explain. The typical example of a structured data is a social security number. Many legacy DLP tools that go way back, maybe even 5 or 10 years ago, can protect against losses of well-known structured data, such as SSNs or credit card numbers. Credit card number is a 16-digit number that has a particular checksum. So this is a well-known structure. So you can easily create a tool that would block attacks against structured data. Now, unstructured data is completely different. Think about this as a sensitive email, personal healthcare history, or some other document that might be talking about issues sensitive to a particular individual. So in that sense, structured data is machine-readable and computer-like data. Unstructured data is human-readable text, paragraphs, sections, anything of the sort. And it's sometimes very hard to explain to a computerized tool that a particular paragraph in a text discloses important corporate secrets. For example, leaks out who the company might acquire, or leaks out what kind of diseases the person have or have been tested against. So in that sense, for healthcare, it's very, very important to be able to protect against both structured and unstructured data loss. In fact, unstructured data loss being the most important here. And that's why I like nexTier technology, because it allows you to analyze a big pool of unstructured data and then define safeguards against loss and attack.
I hope that answered some of your questions about HIPAA. It certainly answered some of mine. I'd like to thank Dr. Chavakin for his time. Thank you.